Ever since we were kids, we've been raised on fairy tales where the dream of becoming real is at the heart of the story. I mean, who doesn't remember Pinocchio, the wooden puppet who longed to be a real boy with a blue fairy, a talking cricket, and that classic Disney moral lesson? Now imagine that story told in the most brutal way possible, with samurai, blood, and zero happy magic. That's the world of Dororo. Here, the father doesn't lovingly build his son. He literally sells his newborn's body to 12 demons in exchange for political power. The baby is born without skin, limbs, or senses, a barely living stump. But against all odds, he grows up, armed to the teeth with deadly prosthetics, like a feudal Edward Scissorhands, and sets off on a quest to hunt down those demons and reclaim his body, piece by piece. Sounds like a wild video game where you collect upgrades as you go, right? But Dororo is way more than that. It's a dark, visually stunning, and emotionally intense journey that dives deep into what it really means to be human, proving that sometimes the real monsters are the ones closest to home. So today on the channel, the complete story of Dororo. While his wife is in labor, Lord Kagamitsu Daigo is reminiscing about a bizarre pact he made with 12 demons. He basically sold his firstborn soul in exchange for power, kind of like Scar from The Lion King, but with demons instead of hyenas, and a bill comes due fast. The first son is born without arms, legs, a face, or skin. He's essentially a potato with a soul, so what would a loving father do? Obviously, put the baby in a boat and send him down the river in a super grim version of Moses. Cut to 16 years later, the baby survived and is now a young man with prosthetics made by a guy named Dr. Jukai. Think Edward Scissorhands, but with a full prosthetic body. While hunting a slime demon, he crosses paths with Dororo, a young thief who's getting beaten up by some guys he scammed. The fight is interrupted by the demonic slime, which devours the attackers. Problem solved, I guess? Our mysterious hero isn't fazed. He pulls blades out of his prosthetic arms and slices the monster like it's nothing. And here comes the plot twist. As soon as the demon dies, the boy's skin magically reappears. Killing demons returns his body parts, almost like he's collecting DLCs for himself. At the same time, in the old Hall of Hell, one of the 12 demon statues is split by lightning. It looks like the debt is starting to be paid in reverse. To wrap up, we head back to Daigo's castle. We meet his second son, Tahomaru, but the mother, Nui, obviously hasn't gotten over the firstborn her husband basically threw away. Dororo is now acting like the manager for our protagonist, who still can't see, hear, or speak. But don't be fooled, the guy has superhuman fighting skills and a Daredevil-style radar that allows him to see the color of people's souls to tell friend from foe. Seeing a business opportunity, Dororo offers his partner's services to hunt a monster in a village, for a little cash of course. The village is led by a woman named Bandai, who is too beautiful to be true, which is already a major red flag. There, they meet a blind monk, Biwa Maru, who, to no one's surprise, can also see souls. The Soul Vision Club just keeps growing. They soon discover the truth. The gorgeous mayor is actually a demon in disguise who was using the village as her private buffet for travelers.
But this is far worse than any ordinary monster.
Yakimaru wastes no time and slices the demon lady. Soon after, the monster they were originally hunting appears, ringing a bell. A villager explains that it's just the spirit of the first person the villagers themselves killed. In other words, nobody there is innocent. After all the chaos, our hero finally reveals his name, Hyakimaru. As a reward, another statue in Daigo's hall is destroyed, and Hyakimaru gets an upgrade, his central nervous system. The bad news is, with that, he can now feel pain. It's like unlocking hardcore mode in the middle of the game. Meanwhile, Lord Daigo is informed that a rival clan seems to be preparing for war, totally oblivious to his son's comeback. How about an origin episode? But not for our hero, for the guy who built him. Basically, we're talking about Dr. Jukai, the genius behind Hyakimaru's prosthetic body. Before becoming the Geppetto to our samurai Pinocchio, Jukai had a pretty dark past. He worked for a lord named Shiba, and his job was, well, let's just say he was in charge of wounded enemies. Heavy, right? His life only changed when his own co-workers killed someone he loved, which made him rage quit life and throw himself into the sea. But fate had other plans. He was rescued by foreigners and learned the art of creating prosthetic limbs. It was his redemption, from taking lives to rebuilding them. One fine day, he finds Daigo's baby abandoned on the riverbank, looking like something out of a horror movie. Instead of running away, Jukai adopts him and uses all his skills to build a body for the boy, allowing him to move and look normal. At age 6, he names the boy Hyakimaru. The big turning point happens when Hyakimaru, still a child, kills a lizard demon and bam! His real right leg grows back in place. It was a eureka moment for Jukai. He figured it out. The demons stole the boy's body parts, and killing them was the only way to get them back. It was like a video game where you have to defeat the bosses to recover your items. Knowing Hyakimaru would have to go on his own journey, Jukai gave him the best parting gift, swords embedded in his arms. Back in the present, Hyakimaru wakes up and starts testing his new ability to feel pain, the first real step in his journey of recovery.
What are you doing? You're gonna get burned! Come on! What in the world has gotten into you? Seriously? Man, you're a handful. Gee.
While Dororo is chatting up a new girl in the area, Hyakimaru is outside having a totally new experience. Feeling rain for the first time. Imagine, after a lifetime of feeling nothing, suddenly, water starts falling on you. It must be a pretty wild sensation, but the zen moment is interrupted. Hyakimaru's demon radar pings, and he feels evil energy coming from a sword. He takes off and runs into a samurai wielding said cursed blade. The fight is tense, and the guy is good. Hyakimaru's solution? Jam his own prosthetic leg in the way to trap the sword and simply the leg off. An original tactic, to say the least. Dororo, being a good partner, goes to fetch the leg, but upon touching the sword, the thing acts like a magnet and pulls him back to the owner, who is Tanosuke, Osushi's brother. We find out that this sword, Nihiru, is like the One Ring from the Lord of the Rings. It whispers in your ear, promises power, but in exchange, turns you into a violence addict with an unquenchable thirst for blood. Tanosuke, already totally dominated by the sword, retrieves it and charges at Hyakimaru for round 2. This time, there's no talking. Hyakimaru goes all out, defeats the swordsman, and in a final strike, shatters the demonic blade into pieces. And as always, defeating a demon or a demonic item means an upgrade. As soon as the sword shatters, Hyakimaru's body rebuilds itself once more and his real ears appear. Now, besides feeling pain, rain, and the world around him, he can finally hear. His world just got a soundtrack. With his brand new hearing, the world is a hellishly noisy place for Hyakimaru.
Hyakimaru! Hey!
The sensory overload is so intense he can barely defend himself when a giant monster that looks like a B-movie pterodactyl attacks him. Luckily, Biwamaru shows up in the nick of time to save the day, acting like the Gandalf of this universe and explaining that they are in enemy territory, about to witness a nasty beef between the armies of Sakai and Daigo. The next morning, Hyakimaru hears something that finally isn't just noise. Beautiful music. He follows the sound and finds Mio, a girl singing. The connection is instant, but his body is still in recovery mode, and he simply passes out. Our heroes end up staying with Mio and a group of orphan kids in an abandoned temple. The girl is a true saint, but the money to take care of everyone comes from a night job that is far from holy. She works as a for the Sakai soldiers. Meanwhile, Biwamaru finds a better place for them to live, just with one small problem. It comes with a free demon. Even though he's all patched up, Hyakimaru insists on going to fight. The monk gets worried. He uses his soul vision and notices something sinister. Hyakimaru's white aura is starting to gain some shades of red. It's the dark side of the force calling. The fight against the demon, a disgusting creature that's a mix of a grub and an antlion, goes terribly wrong. The creature, called Arijigoku, simply bites off the lower half of Hyakimaru's real leg. His scream of agony is terrifying, especially now that he can hear it himself. To make matters worse, Dororo finally discovers Mio's secret right when she decides to go service the soldiers of Daigo's army to try and make a few extra bucks. Biwamaru manages to drag Hyakimaru back to Mio's camp completely battered. His leg is toast, but in exchange, he recovered his voice. Meanwhile, Dororo tries to get out of the other kids what Mio does at night, but the little ones have no idea. With Mio's help, Hyakimaru starts adapting to hearing and using his voice, almost like intensive speech therapy. The result? His bloodthirsty red aura begins to fade.
Where shall I place this crimson treasure? No
There's a strong vibe between the two, a connection that calms his inner beast. Even though he's broken, Hyakimaru decides it's time for a rematch against Arajigoku. He's not 100%, but he's determined. The kids help out, handing him some swords they found on the battlefield. And he does it. He destroys the antlion demon, and as a prize, his real leg grows back, good as new. But the return to the temple turns into a nightmare. Upon arrival, they find a scene worthy of a horror movie. Daigo's troops are there, the children. They accuse Mio, who is mortally wounded, of being an enemy spy. Seeing the girl and the orphans in this state makes Hyakimaru enter Kratos mode. The rage explodes, his soul turns scarlet, and he annihilates all of Daigo's soldiers without mercy. A total slaughter. The killing only stops because Dororo throws himself in front of him, terrified that Hyakimaru will become the very monster he hunts. Later, Dororo finds rice seeds in Mio's hand, her last hope, stolen from the samurai she despised so much, to start the farm of her dreams.
Really did take it back from the samurai to make her own rice field. She didn't lose. You can't.
After burying the dead, Hyakimaru and Dororo continue their journey, leaving a destroyed dream behind. Still recovering from the trauma, Hyakimaru and Dororo encounter their next problem, a giant spider demon who basically kidnapped a guy. Without thinking twice, Hyakimaru charges and wounds the creature, but she manages to escape. The duo arrives at a nearby village that looks like it came out of an X-Files episode. Several men are mysteriously disappearing during the night. Coincidence? I think not. The next day, a super nice guy named Yajiro finds the wounded demon, but now she's in the form of a beautiful woman. Instead of calling the demon police, he takes her home, gives her sweets, and even nicknames her Ohagi. And the weirdest part? Even though she's starving, Ohagi can't devour Yajiro because he's too nice. His kindness is like monster repellent. Then comes the plot twist. The missing men didn't end up in the big spider's stomach. Actually, Yajiro has been helping everyone escape the local lord, who is a tyrant. He's like the unsung hero of the town. When Yajiro tries to help Ohagi escape too, Hyakimaru shows up to finish what he started. He strikes, but she defends herself, and the two make their escape. However, the lord's goons find them and wound Yajiro. Terrible idea. Ohagi goes into full rage mode, turns into an 8-legged monster, and massacres the soldiers. This display of power lights up a red beacon on Hyakimaru's radar, and he arrives for the final showdown. But, just as they are about to fight to the death, her concern for Yajiro is so strong that the demonic red color of her soul simply fades out. Seeing this, Hyakimaru realizes she isn't pure evil, lowers his swords, and lets them go. For the first time, he chose not to kill. This week's gig starts with a very sinister vibe. A dark cloud with a demon inside called Forsaken Cloud hovers over a village, and the residents, instead of calling the Ghostbusters, decide to do the classic move. Prepare a young woman as a sacrifice. While the demon's bride is being taken up the mountain, a wild boy named Saru, kind of a local Mowgli, appears, trying to stop the ceremony. Saru explains that the girl is like a sister to him, and begs Hyakimaru and Dororo to deal with the monster. Our heroes accept the challenge, but things get complicated. The cloud and the giant centipede demon inside it shine the same red color to Hyakimaru. It's like trying to find the villain inside smoke at a party, except the smoke wants to kill you. The beast takes advantage of the confusion and swallows the girl. With the situation out of control, Dororo and Saru try a MacGyver-style plan. Use the sulfur gases from the mountain to create an explosion. But the plan goes sideways, and the fire barely scratches the demon. Seeing that science failed, Dororo goes for boldness. He jumps onto the giant centipede's head and starts screaming, acting as a human GPS. Using his hearing, Hyakimaru finally manages to track the beast's exact location and cuts it to pieces. The evil cloud dissipates, and everyone, Hyakimaru, Dororo, and the girl, who came out of the monster in one piece, falls into a lake. Saru and his sister reunite and decide to become citizens of the village. And Hyakimaru's prize? He gets his nose back. He'll finally be able to smell things. And the most shocking part, for the first time, he looks at his partner and calls him by name, Dororo.
Dororo.
So this new sense of yours, did you call me Dororo just now?
The bromance has been officially sealed. A while later, we see Dororo in bad shape, burning up with fever. Hyakimaru, now with Big Brother mode fully activated, takes his partner to a temple to seek help. There, delirious, Dororo sees some red flowers, spider lilies, and this serves as a trigger for a super heavy flashback about his past. We meet Dororo's parents. The father, Hibukuro, was like a feudal Japanese Robin Hood, leader of a band of ex-farmers turned bandits. He had a specific target: steal from the samurai to avenge the suffering of the people. The problem is that his right-hand man, a guy named Itachi, was a classic traitor. He sets a trap, sells the group out to a samurai lord, cripples his own boss, and takes control of the gang, leaving Hibukuro, his wife, Ojiya, and Dororo to their own devices. The family, now with nothing, is forced to live as scavengers, picking up leftovers on battlefields. In a tragic scene, Hibukuro ends up being recognized and killed by samurai. Shortly after, Ojiya, Dororo's mother, can't take it anymore and dies of starvation, collapsing in a field full of those same red flowers from the start of the delirium. It's heartbreaking. Back in the present, Dororo recovers from the fever. Meanwhile, the temple priestess, after caring for and washing Dororo's clothes, comes to Hyakimaru and drops the biggest bombshell of the season, calling Dororo a young lady. That's right, the big twist, the Sixth Sense style, is that Dororo is actually a girl. And to top it all off, we are transported straight to the evil castle, where Kagamitsu Daigo receives news from a survivor that his firstborn son might be alive. The family beef is about to begin. We have a new monster of the week, and this one looks like it escaped from a Godzilla movie. A giant crab demon is making bait out of fishermen, destroying boats, and devouring folks. The classic setup for a B-horror movie.
Please no!
Meanwhile, back in the Daigo domain, things are looking ugly. The land is drying up faster than the California desert, and to make matters worse, the rival Asakura clan is gathering at the border, looking like they want trouble. Lord Kagamitsu goes to his demonic temple and finds more broken statues. The demons are basically giving him a performance review. His son is alive and recovering his body parts, which means their contract is being breached. Meanwhile, the younger son, Tahomaru, is playing detective and discovers that his father is looking for a baby. Suspicious, to say the least. Hearing about the local Jaws-style problem, Tahomaru decides to handle the situation himself, taking his two bodyguards, Mutsu and Hyogo. The first attempt to fight the monster is a total failure, forcing a tactical retreat, but Tahomaru has a plan B. He sets a trap, luring the monster into a shallow channel to then drain the water. The plan works, but the giant crab is tougher than expected and almost makes a snack out of Hyogo. Just when all seems lost, Hyakimaru arrives by surprise, kills the creature with absurd ease, and saves the day. Tahomaru stands there, jaw dropped, wondering who the hell that superpowered stranger is. After the unexpected encounter, Tahomaru finally discovers the name of the mysterious guy who saved his skin, Hyakimaru. Our heroes arrive at the capital of the Daigo domain and run into a play that looks more like political propaganda. The play paints Lord Kagamitsu as a demon-slaying hero, basically the Captain America of feudal Japan, protected by the goddess of mercy. Meanwhile, Biwamaru, always in detective mode, goes straight to the Hall of Hell to uncover the truth behind this story. Hyakimaru and Dororo head to Fort Banmon, a place with a terrible reputation, built over a village Daigo destroyed. The fort has The Walking Dead vibe, with a wall where the rival Asakura clan hangs enemy bodies with arrows. There, they meet Sukeroku, a boy who wants to cross the border to find his family. Back at the castle, Tahomaru's bodyguards tell Lord Kagamitsu everything about the encounter with Hyakimaru. The Lord connects the dots and realizes his firstborn son is alive. His reaction? Order the boy killed to keep his demonic deal standing. Tahomaru overhears the conversation and is shocked to discover his father is a monster. To make matters worse, he finds a woman who witnessed Hyakimaru's birth, and she tells the horror story. The demons ate everything, but left the baby alive. At night, at the fort, a nine-tailed fox appears and attacks Hyakimaru. Sukeroku takes advantage of the distraction to flee, with Dororo right behind, but the two are captured by Asakura guards. The fox demon ends up fleeing, scared off by a rain of arrows. And who shows up leading the squad? Kagamitsu Daigo himself, approaching Hyakimaru. The warm family reunion vibe between Hyakimaru and Kagamitsu Daigo doesn't happen. Instead of a hug, Hyakimaru sees his own father's soul shining a sinister red. Confused, he understands nothing, but Kagamitsu couldn't care less, and immediately orders his archers to turn Hyakimaru into a pincushion. Our hero manages to escape by a hair. Meanwhile, Dororo, who isn't Michael Scofield but is equally ingenious, genius, manages to break out of the Asakura prison, leaving Sukeroku and the others behind for now.
Get off of me, you little punk!
Go on, Dororo! I'm not gonna give up.
At the castle, Tahomaru confronts his mother, Nui, about the lost brother, but it's Kagemitsu who shows up to explain the demonic pact, throwing a moral dilemma in his son's face: save one brother or let the entire kingdom go down the drain. The pressure is immense. Before Tahomaru can decide, Hyakimaru appears at the castle. Kagemitsu, without thinking twice, orders him killed. The beef moves to Fort Banmon, where the Asakura start executing prisoners to force a war. The nine-tailed fox joins the party, and the Daigo army advances. It's in this chaos that Tahomaru, having accepted his father's decision, attacks Hyakimaru. The brotherly fight is intense, but Hyakimaru gets the upper hand. He breaks Tahomaru's sword and even damages the younger brother's right eye. Afterwards, he finishes off the demon, which gets sucked into the fort. Just then, Nui arrives, apologizes for her part in the pact, and, in a desperate act, takes her own life. Her sacrifice causes a chain reaction that brings down Fort Banmon.
Come on, Scarecrow, let's go! Right!
Amidst the dust, Sukeroku finally reunites with his mother. Biwamaru finds Nui's small, headless goddess of mercy statue, and its protective green aura fades out for good. After that disastrous family reunion at the fort, Hyakimaru goes right back into demon hunting mode, while Dororo tries to convince him to take a day off at an onsen. But relaxation will have to wait, because Dororo bumps into a woman named Okaka, who is the spitting image of his mother. The deja vu is so strong that he ends up introducing the woman to Hyakimaru near a creepy, faceless Buddha statue by a waterfall. Okaka spins a yarn about a sculptor who died before finishing the statue's face. It sounds like a generic local legend until the story turns into a horror tale. While Dororo falls into a drug-induced sleep, Okaka reveals the plot twist. A demon possessed the statue and, wanting a face, revived the sculptor in her form, a sort of T-1000 that can shapeshift to kidnap humans and steal their faces. Okaka drags Hyakimaru to the waterfall, but he recovers, and the brawl begins against the statue demon. The beast is strong, and Okaka even helps it, pinning Hyakimaru down. But Dororo, even while groggy, begs for his friend's life, and his plea breaks the demon's spell over Okaka. In an act of redemption, she throws herself in front of the monster's sword, giving Hyakimaru the perfect chance to destroy the statue once and for all. Okaka disintegrates along with the demon.
It's like the Buddha.
Later, they finally reach the onsen. There, they find the Biwamaru, and the tranquility ends when the heat of the water reveals a mysterious map on Dororo's back. And speaking of revelations, we found out that Nui survived, but Tahomaru didn't walk away unscathed from the fight with his brother. He's now down one eye. Remember that mysterious map that appeared on Dororo's back? Well, now we find out where it came from. In a flashback, we see Dororo's father, Hibukuro, in full Michael Scofield mode from Prison Break, drawing a treasure map. One part on his wife Ojia's back, and the other on Dororo's back, so that one day they could grab the cash together. Dororo, who's no fool, memorized her mother's part before she died. Back in the present, the Biwamaru realizes the map only appears with heat and gives some philosophical advice, saying Dororo now has choices in life. Meanwhile, Hyakimaru is so focused on his demon hunting tour that he doesn't even flinch when a bizarre monster looking like a giant baby briefly kidnaps Dororo. He barely blinks. Priorities, right? The duo arrives at a burnt-down temple, and the baby monster simply vanishes. There, they meet Sabame, the local lord, who invites them to his home. He spins a suspicious story, claiming the temple was a convent that children and was conveniently destroyed by lightning. Yeah, sure, likely story. At night, the hospitality turns into an episode of Supernatural. A monster resembling a giant caterpillar attacks the two. Hyakimaru, naturally, charges in and wounds the creature. But then comes the plot twist. A giant demonic moth, the Maimai swoops down from the sky, rescues the caterpillar larva, and flies away. The giant moth lands near Lord Sabame and transforms into a white-haired woman. She complains that the food he served loved her children was too strong. Sabame, instead of freaking out, calms the demoness down and promises to protect her and her offspring. Long story short, the guy is a human delivery service for a family of demonic insects. Terrible host. 0 stars on Yelp. Dororo decides to play tourist in Sabame's village, a place that looks straight out of an idyllic commercial. It's so perfect and happy, but the hospitality runs out fast. She finds a rice warehouse in the middle of nowhere, and when she least expects it, the villagers shove her into a cellar. Texas Chainsaw Massacre level welcome. The cellar is a nightmare packed with demonic caterpillars.
Graf, where are you? I need your help!
When things get tight, the larva she had spared earlier defends her, but the joy is short-lived. The little monster explodes, releasing the souls of the children that Sabame and the villagers served as snacks to the Maimai Onba. Meanwhile, Sabame opens up to Hyakimaru, explaining the bizarre deal he made. The Maimai Onba eliminated the bandits in the region, and in exchange he married her. Yes, you read that right. The Lord became the husband of a demonic moth. Shortly after, the other moths emerge from their cocoons and go after Hyakimaru in an aerial battle worthy of Top Gun. He fights bravely, but one of them breaks his prosthetic leg and in a kamikaze act, sets fire to the village. Dororo, seeing the chaos, decides to handle things her way and torches the warehouse, burning the caterpillars and the entire rice stock. Without food, the villagers go into Hunger Games mode and start killing each other. Hyakimaru finds the original Maimai Onba and defeats her, regaining his spine. He and Dororo walk through what remains of the village, a scene of destruction with bodies everywhere, including Sabame's. Dororo is shaken and asks if they did the right thing. Hyakimaru's answer is colder than the Terminator's heart. I only kill demons. This attitude freezes the relationship between the two, who separate and go their own ways. But Dororo's solitude is short-lived. Itachi, the traitor who destroyed her family, shows up with his men. He reveals he has half of the treasure map and demands to see the part she has. Dororo tries to play dumb and denies knowing anything about a map, but Itachi is no fool and drags the girl along. His logic is simple. If it's not on paper, it's in her memory. The gang follows the map half that Itachi obtained in a very macabre way, by digging up Dororo's mother's body. Yeah, the guy really takes treasure hunting seriously. They reach Hakatsu Cape, but discover they need a boat. In a nearby village, which seems to have been wiped off the map by bandits, they find Shiranui, a one-armed boy who offers to take them across. The transport is exotic, to say the least. 2 boats pulled by gigantic sharks, Jiromaru and Saburomaru, basically the angrier cousins of Jaws. Halfway there, Shiranui drops the bomb. He fed his own arm to the sharks, and the beast got a taste for human flesh. To keep feeding his pets, he simply killed the villagers, and like a good sick host, he capsizes one of the boats, serving Itachi's men as a snack for the sharks.
Sorry for the wait. Ding ding, supper time! A bitch!
The second boat stays in quarantine, with the other sharks standing guard, as if waiting for dessert. Desolate Itachi vents, but Dororo has no time for drama. She throws herself into the water as human bait. On her signal, the bandits pull her back, and when the shark surfaces, they turn it into sushi. Reaching the beach, they beat Shiranui senseless. Itachi, out of patience, rips Dororo's clothes off, and, surprise, discovers she's a girl. To top it off, the heat from the campfire reveals the map on her back, like a secret message from National Treasure. With the complete map, they tie Dororo up and bail. Far away, Hyakimaru can barely walk with his broken leg. He crosses paths with a monk who advises him to seek a man who can give him a new leg, Jukai. Jukai is in the middle of a battlefield, working like Dr. Frankenstein on a bad day, reattaching limbs to corpses. The macabre piece is broken when a ghoul decides he'd make a good appetizer, but Hyakimaru appears out of nowhere and slices the monster in half, faster than a sushi chef. Back at the cave, Hyakimaru finally drops the bomb about his father, the demonic pact, and everything else. Jukai is shocked, realizing the bizarre paradox of the situation. The more human Hyakimaru's body becomes, the more his soul seems to be packing its bags. He hesitates to fix the boy's leg, afraid he's basically assembling a Terminator who's going straight after his own family. As if the drama wasn't enough, a landslide blocks the cave. While digging to get out, Hyakimaru remembers Dororo, proving there's still a drop of humanity in there. Upon escaping, they run into a demonic tree, like like an evil family tree that is literally bearing fruit in the shape of ghouls. Hyakimaru, with no time for gardening, decimates the monsters and destroys the tree, piercing its heart. Meanwhile, in Daigo territory, Tahomaru has become the CEO of cruelty. He ignores his mother, who is recovering, to hunt a ghoul. He and his bodyguards corner a rat monster, and instead of just killing the beast, Tahomaru burns the entire hideout with the brood inside, declaring he will defend his territory at any cost. Back at the castle, Kagamitsu sees his son is ready for dirty work and sends him with an army to hunt Hyakimaru. The scene cuts to Hyakimaru, sporting his new leg, rowing a small boat toward Hakatsu Cape. The family reunion is going to be grim. The beef on the beach escalates quickly when Shiranui orders the giant shark Jiramaru to devour his dead brother's body. The macabre snack works like a Pokemon evolution item, and the beast turns into a land-walking demon, like a street shark ready to attack. It goes straight for Dororo, but Hyakimaru, arriving with superhero timing, slices the monster and saves the day. As a bonus for defeating the boss, bing, his left leg is restored. Meanwhile, Itachi finds a cave that looks interesting, and two of his men, in a rush, run inside only to be greeted by explosives. A classic Indiana Jones trap. Peace ends when Tahomaru and his fleet land on the beach with orders to leave no survivors. His archers begin eliminating Itachi's men one by one. Amidst this chaos, Dororo and Hyakimaru find a wounded Itachi, but the reunion is interrupted by Tahomaru, Mutsu, and Hyogo, who charge at Hyakimaru with everything they've got. Seeing the heat is on, Itachi grabs Dororo and tries to flee the rain of arrows. From high above, Shiranui decides to have his kamikaze moment, detonating the bombs he had disarmed and causing a colossal landslide. He dies in the explosion, taking a bunch of Tahomaru's soldiers with him. Hyogo is gravely wounded and the group retreats, presuming Hyakimaru dead, except the explosion also opened a new cave, and Dororo and a near-death Itachi fall right into the treasure. Itachi dies right after seeing the fortune. At least he lived his dream for about 10 seconds. Hyakimaru, who obviously survived, finds Dororo. She decides to leave the money there for now, and the duo is finally reunited. After all the drama at the beach, the duo is back on the road, but with a technical issue. Hyakimaru's swords need a mechanic, or rather, a blacksmith. They go looking for a guy named Munetsuna, but the villagers immediately give them the lowdown. The guy is a terrible professional, and his daughter Okowa is ugly as sin.
It over there for me, and as you can see, it's nothing special. Oh, and not to mention his daughter Okowa is rather homely and has a terrible personality.
However, upon arrival, they discover it was all fake news. The blacksmith is good, and his daughter is normal, but their house looks like a horror movie set full of hideous Hyotoko masks. While Munetsuna takes the swords to be blessed at a temple, a prankster demon called an Amado Jaku decides to troll Hyakimaru. He casts a spell that makes the guy say and do the opposite of what he actually wants. It's opposite day taken to the extreme. The result? Hyakimaru, the guy who lives to fight.
I am going to be with Okowa.
Sir Hyaku! Even if you are just joking, you really shouldn't say things like that.
I'm not.
Dororo feels betrayed, like the best friend who gets dumped for a new partner. She almost throws Hyakimaru's swords away, but ends up venting to the blacksmith. The next day, the penny drops. The entire village is cursed. Everyone's saying the opposite of what they think. It's like the movie Liar Liar, but reversed. And the bizarre masks? They are the antidote, allowing whoever wears them to speak the truth. Wearing a mask, Dororo goes to the temple to demand answers. The demon makes Hyakimaru attack her, but Munetsuna appears, also masked, and knocks out the mischievous spirit. He explains the Amano-jaku was sealed under a statue and escaped. Problem solved, statue back in place, and the lightning engagement is called off. Hyakimaru grabs his tuned-up swords, and the pair officially hits the road again, leaving behind the weirdest episode of their lives. Meanwhile, the bill has finally come due for the Daigo family. Tahomaru and his bodyguards realize the kingdom is going down the drain, with disaster spreading like a virus. The conclusion is obvious. The demons are furious because the kill Hyakimaru and gain prosperity contract was breached. Kagamitsu Daigo himself realizes that since the destruction of the goddess statue, the party is over. The all-you-can-eat luck buffet is closed. Far away, Hyakimaru and Dororo meet a guy named Saburota, who claims to be hunting the demon that devoured his mother. It sounds like a standard revenge story until a bizarre monster called a Nue, a Japanese chimera, appears. At the critical moment, Saburota switches sides and reveals he's a psychopath who enjoys watching the demon devour travelers. He's like a horror movie fan rooting for the villain.
They all scream, begging for their lives. And when I see them all helpless like that, it's the only time this hole gets filled up.
In the fight, Hyakimaru and Dororo fall into a ravine, and her arm gets pinned under a rock. To make matters worse, the place starts to flood. Hyakimaru panics, even breaking his prosthetic arm trying to save her, but he can't. When all seems lost, the Biwamaru appears out of nowhere like a blind Gandalf and frees Dororo. With a clear head, Hyakimaru goes after the Nue full force and gravely wounds the monster. In an act of desperation, the demon devours its own fan club, Saburota, absorbing him. Hyakimaru finally destroys the creature, but then comes the shock. No part of his body is returned. He chops the beast into 1,000 pieces and nothing. Dororo panics. The Biwamaru, watching from afar, sees Hyakimaru's aura gaining a red heart, a terrible sign. Hyakimaru realizes the only way to get his body back is to go straight to the source of the problem, the final boss, Kagamitsu Daigo. Hyakimaru is back in Daigo territory, and he's not here to make friends. His vibe is pure Terminator, focused solely on one mission: retrieving his parts. Dororo, by his side, realizes with sadness that her friend is losing any shred of humanity, turning into a killing machine with no off switch. They barely set foot there when a villager recognizes them, running to alert Kagamitsu, and the kingdom is total chaos, the Walking Dead level. Diseased villages are burned with everyone inside, men are forced to fight in a war, and even horses are confiscated, including a mare named Midoro, who just had a foal. Facing collapse, Tahomaru decides it's time to solve the problem called Big Brother, once and for all. He, Mutsu, and Hyogo set out to intercept him. In a quick flashback, we see the bodyguards are loyal because Kagamitsu raised them after their parents were killed, a sort of Batman and his Robins dynamic. They find Hyakimaru in a macabre canyon littered with soldiers' bodies. The 3-on-1 fight begins, but Hyakimaru is in total berserker mode. He doesn't just defend, he attacks with savage fury, ripping off Mutsu's right arm and Hyogo's left. He even slashes Tahomaru's right eye for the second time, just to leave a mark. Dororo watches it all, terrified by his brutality. Suddenly, Kagamitsu's soldiers appear, and in an act of desperation worthy of a Wile E. Coyote plan, the leader straps explosives to the mare Midoro and launches her at Hyakimaru. The explosion throws our hero off the cliff. Dororo is captured, and Tahomaru, who refuses to leave, is taken down with a tranquilizer dart. To end the episode, the spirit of the possessed mare manifests, transforming into a flaming horse, an equine version of Ghost Rider. While Tahomaru and his crew head home with Dororo as a consolation prize, Kagamitsu is already in war room mode, preparing for a nasty brawl against the Asakura clan. The stage for the battle? The Banmon Fort. Meanwhile, Hyakimaru discovers they took Dororo and gets absolutely possessed by rage. This fury acts as a call from the beyond, drawing the demonic horse Midoro to him. Now, Hyakimaru has a new partner, and together they are the samurai Ghost Rider, trampling over all of Daigo's soldiers in search of Dororo. Back at the castle, Nui decides to play spy and frees Dororo, thanking her for being a friend to her lost son. Their escape, however, is a disaster, and the boat sinks. They are saved by a group of refugees, and among them is the Biwamaru. Seeing the people suffering, Nui decides to pull a Florence Nightingale and stays to care for the wounded. Elsewhere, Mutsu is wasting away. Besides losing an arm, she was hiding a grave illness and, desperate, flees to the Hall of Hell. There, she offers herself as a sacrifice to the last demon in exchange for the land's salvation. But it seems the demon is picky and simply rejects the offer. Tahomaru and Hyogo find her, and later, the three go to intercept Hyakimaru's trail of destruction. But there's an M. Night Shyamalan-level plot twist. Their wounds are gone. The demon might have refused Mutsu, but it gave them a macabre upgrade straight from Hyakimaru's body, and Tahomaru, to top it off, received his 2 eyes. Hyakimaru's search for his body just turned into a bizarre case of limb theft. The land of Daigo is in pre-apocalypse mode, with villagers preparing for war. The main beef, however, has already started. Hyakimaru charges at Tahomaru and his gang for a body part recall session. He wants his arms and eyes back, and he's not asking nicely. Dororo and Nui run toward the combat zone, but the Biwamaru acts like a club bouncer and bars their entry to the VIP section of destruction. Meanwhile, the demonic horse Midoro decides to join the fight, attacking Mutsu and Hyogo, but in a moment worthy of a Disney movie, her foal appears, distracting the mother, who ends up wounded. Furious, Midoro bites Hyogo's head and crushes Mutsu like a soda can. End of story? No way. Their bodies become puppets of the demon, like an evil weekend at Bernie's, and use Hyakimaru's stolen arms to mortally wound Midoro. With the death of the two henchmen, Hyakimaru's original arms finally return to their owner. The first thing he does, he grabs the blades of his prosthetics with his own hands, proving he's back with a vengeance. The fight with Tahomaru continues, but seeing his mother and Dororo, Hyakimaru's brain gets a blue screen of death. Confused by the emotions, he flees, with his little brother hot on his heels. While the brothers play tag, the other characters stop for a philosophical debate, concluding that Daigo's pact was a pyramid scheme gone wrong, and that only what is built with one's own hands truly lasts. Speaking of the devil, Kagemitsu leads his army, doubling down on his failed plan. The chase leads Hyakimaru and Tahomaru straight to Daigo's castle, where the fight resumes, and they accidentally turn the place into a giant barbecue.
About what needs to be done. But I'm not alone.
The smoke acts like a bat signal, drawing Dororo and Nui for the final act. Daigo's castle is in flames, and the family feud between Hyakimaru and Tahomaru continues at full throttle. It's the medieval version of Thor versus Loki, with each fighting for the right to call that burning pile of rocks home. While the brothers sort themselves out, Nui uses a secret passage, worthy of an adventure movie, and enters the fortress, where she finds Jukai waiting as if he bought a front row ticket. Up above, the battle reaches its peak. Hyakimaru finally defeats his brother, but when it comes time for the final blow, he hesitates. In a moment of clarity, he chooses mercy over vengeance. However, the demon renting Hyakimaru's eyes didn't like the pacifist ending and attempts a hostile takeover of Tahomaru's body, but the prince refuses to be a puppet and, in a desperate act, out his own eyes. They fly back to Hyakimaru, who is finally whole. With his vision restored, he dispatches the last demon for good. Amidst the chaos, Dororo and Hyakimaru are reunited, but the reunion is bittersweet. Nui holds a dying Tahomaru in her arms as the castle collapses on top of them. Outside, the last statue in the Hall of Hell crumbles, and Kagemitsu watches his army get decimated. He returns to the hall, defeated, and runs into Hyakimaru, but instead of a bloody reckoning, Hyakimaru leaves the goddess of mercy statue behind and walks away. Only then does Kagemitsu realize his monumental failure. His son could have been the hero his land needed. Hyakimaru sets off on a solo journey, but promises Dororo they will meet again. Years later, Dororo, now a young woman, runs through a golden field toward Hyakimaru, who waits for her with a smile. Finally, a happy ending.